Hello, everyone. I'm Heath, Director of Market Engagement at the B2B Institute. The B2B Institute is a marketing strategy think tank, and we work with leading marketing practitioners and academics to investigate how marketers can create more value, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. So you are in B2B Trends for the Contrarian Marketer, our 2022 edition. And over the past 5 years, our team has identified over 30 different trends in marketing. And you can find all of these at b2binstitute.org. But I've got some very special trends for you today. And as I go into that, I first want to share why these trends are so special. When it comes to trends, marketers always want to know what everyone else is doing. But that's the wrong question. The right question to ask is, what is no one else doing? Because the most valuable ideas are contrarian ideas. So let me break this down. So you have the contrarian matrix here, and you can be contrarian against the crowd, consensus with the crowd, or you can be wrong or right. Now, there's no value in being wrong because you're wrong. And when things are consensus and right, there's no value there because everything gets competed away. That's where everyone is playing. So simply put, what we want to do is what no one else is doing and be right about it. Then we can capture the entire opportunity. And so for these trends that we've identified and the 30 other trends you can find, we've tried to identify those trends that are contrarian and right, that when you practice them, they'll create a lot of value for you. So as we dive into our trends, we've got a couple videos along the way. So let's watch this one on our first trend, which is about the distinction between investment in long-term brand and short-term demand.
Aston Martin doesn't run ads anymore. So how is it that people keep referencing an ad from 50 years ago when purchasing a car today? It's because ads work over the long term. 95% of category buyers are out market at any given time. Buyers are either in market or out market. Most buyers are future buyers, and future buyers are the source of future cash flows. Shake up your buyer journey, not stirred, and find out what this means for your brand marketing strategy.
If you enjoyed that as much as I do, let me know if you think I could be the next Bond. Should I go after it? Should I not? Let me know what you think. But anyway, that was the first trend, and let's get into it. It's called the 95-5 rule. And I really did love channeling my inner international super spy. And where this is coming from, it's based on one of the most well-known mental models in marketing, the marketing funnel. But the challenge with the traditional marketing funnel is that it's not particularly customer or finance centric. Most people talk about the funnel and they say customers are in the awareness stage or the consideration stage. They're either at the bottom of the funnel, the top of the funnel. We put all of that to the side. And instead, we have a different way of looking at it. We believe that customers are either in market or out market for your solution. And if they're out market, they're not thinking about your brand or your category at all. So the problem with the funnel is it makes B2B marketers believe that the job of advertising is to move buyers in market. But ads don't move people in market. People move themselves in market when they experience a need for a solution, when they enter what we call a buying situation. So instead, what we like to do is take the funnel and flip it on its side. We call this the cash flow funnel, and we think it's a much better mental model. The cash flow funnel recognizes that buyers are either in market or out market, and that in market buyers drive current cash flows and out market buyers drive future cash flows. So in this way, the cash flow funnel is both customer and finance centric. And the 95-5 rule, again, states that 95% of category buyers are out market at any given time. That means that the growth potential for your business lies out in the future for people who buy from you in the future. Of course, it's important to go after that 5% of buyers who are in market today with lead generation. The challenge is too many B2B marketers exclusively focus on that cohort, which places a ceiling on our growth potential. So we've got to channel our energy more towards outmarket buyers so that when they enter the market in the future, your brand is the one that they think of. And that brings us to our next trend called situational awareness. And this is about linking your brand to key buying situations. Memories are very highly situational. And a lot of fascinating studies look at the relationship between situation and recall. There's one experiment that shows if we learn vocabulary underwater, I don't know who's doing that, but anyway, your recall is best when you're underwater again. It's kind of like when you're going to take a test, you want to practice that test, taking that test in an environment that you're going to be in when you're going to take the test. So you're familiar with it. Because memories rarely exist independent of situations. Most conscious memory recall happens as a result of some kind of situational trigger. And so brand memories are the same. We tend to remember some brands over others depending on the situation we find ourselves in. Phil Barden explains this phenomena in a book called Decoded. He ran an experiment asking participants which ice cream brand comes to mind generally versus which one comes to mind at Christmas. The result varied dramatically. So, situation acts as a frame that significantly affects which ice cream brand comes to mind. And situation is such a powerful determinant of the brands you remember, but most marketers don't really measure situation today. At best, marketers are measuring brand awareness, and even that's sorely lacking. It's not about whether buyers know your brand. What matters is whether they think of your brand when they enter a buying situation. So we've got what we call the share of mind funnel, and most marketers are at the bottom. So they want to know if category buyers know the brand. So, for example, in the coffee category, awareness asks, how many coffee brands can you name? So think about it now and maybe name some coffee brands. And then salience, that top of mind awareness is the next step. So when primed to think of the coffee category, which brand rather comes to mind first? Most of you, I'm guessing, are going to say Starbucks because that's typically what people say when they think of the first brand for the coffee category. But the real question marketers need to ask is which coffee brand comes to mind in different situations? So I want you to think about this now. What comes to mind when you're on your way to work, walking down the street? What comes to mind when you're going to a cafe to sit down with a friend and have a coffee? Which coffee brand comes to mind when you're at home on a Sunday, curled up with a blanket and a book? So the answer might be different in each of those things. It might be Nespresso, La Colombe, and other brands that we love, but just keeping in mind and hopefully making the distinction that the situation matters and makes a difference. So, how do you build situational awareness? Well, there's a way you can do it. You have to think about, well, what are the questions? It's not about what they think of about your brand, it's when. So, this framework called the W's approach can help you zero in on different questions you can ask. If you could survey your customers if you have the funds to do it, or you could just interview your sales team. In any case, you want to start to get down to answers to questions like why, when, where, with whom, to start to get at when people enter the market for your product. And this will help you develop creative that links your brand to these particular situations. But let's look at an example of how you do this. So Salesforce does this really, really well. They've got a couple different buying situations that they want people to understand. And what they've done here with their creative, they have really distinctive brand assets here. You notice they have the Salesforce Cloud logo. They've got their distinctive brand character, the raccoon boy called Astro. So very memorable, but they want us to understand different buying situations, companies and customers together, government and citizens together. So manufacturing customers together. So these are how Salesforce is defining these different buying situations. Something we can all learn from. And that brings us to our next trend, folks, which is called the product delusion. So we're not going to be deluded. Let's dive into this. So what if Coca-Cola marketed itself as sweet, brown, and fizzy? So this is the type of advertising that we typically see in B2B. Imagine no red can, no stripe, no polar bears, No stories, no character, nothing. Just ads boasting about the solution's success. If Coca-Cola behaved like a B2B brand, we'd probably see this bland gray cups. You'd see the bland gray can, and they would say things like 95% of thirsty people agree that Coca-Cola is the best. 89% of multi-buys are discounted. Do you see the problem with that? I think we all see the problem with that. And the challenge is, even though we see it very clearly there, in B2B marketing, we all tend to fall for this. It's seen as an afterthought. Everything is sort of centered around the product, and what we call the product illusion reigns supreme. Even Bezos fell for this. He's famous for once voicing the school of thought, saying, advertising is the price you pay for having an unremarkable product or service. Eventually, he came around, though, and now Amazon is one of the biggest advertisers on earth. But we should know better. The product delusion is a dominant school of thought, and that's because people do something that's called satisficing. People always, almost every time, go with the product that they know. The best product for people is often the one that they know, the one they're already familiar with. Why? Because people don't have time. It's rare that you meet someone that's putting together spreadsheets on spreadsheets on spreadsheets of research to make their selection. Oftentimes, they're going with the brand that suffices, the option that's good enough, because pursuing the perfect product takes way too much time and effort. So what that means is that we want to be the brand that's remembered easily because that's the brand that's bought. So what we need is not better products. What we need is more mental availability. And if you look at this example from the financial services industry, you'll see 1.7 is the average number of banks considered. And then the percentage of people who just went straight to their bank that they already knew, 47%. And even those who said they were going to do the research, 75% just ended up buying from their existing bank. So this fully illustrates, even in a high consideration decision, this is money, people's money, folks. Even in that case, they're still satisficing. So don't fall for the product delusion. And that takes us to the next trend, which is called reach maximalism. So, what is reach maximalism? There's an age-old question. Is it profitable to reach 1 million people once or 500,000 people twice? This is the age-old trade-off between reach and frequency. But unlike most questions like this trade-off has a scientifically proven right answer. And you can see it on the slide here, folks. Why? Because you see this concave shape here. Frequency becomes incrementally less effective as it gets higher. So it has diminishing marginal returns. And that's why reach disproportionately offers greater incremental value. And so this is proven out in a report by John Phillips Jones in 1992, showing that ad response here is a convex curve. After one exposure, the impact becomes incrementally smaller. And so this study has since been replicated a handful of times, most recently by Nielsen. So if you look at this study, and this is really fascinating, the study looked at the number of impressions required to drive a 1% increase in sales across 3 segments. So you have a low frequency segment, a medium frequency segment, and a high frequency segment. And so the low frequency segment made up about 41% of buyers who were reached 1.5 times. Medium frequency was 25% of the buyers, 4.5 times reached. And high frequency segment was 33% reached 10 times. And so by aggregating the total number of impressions across the segment, the study ultimately proved that the low frequency segment was dramatically more effective. So in case you didn't believe, this is the proof. Be reach maximalists. But reach is not the only hurdle we have to clear, but it is the most important hurdle. It's the first hurdle, and without reach, nothing else matters. If you don't reach someone without an impression, There's no way to grab their attention. There's no way to build a memory structure or influence a future purchase. So without reach, nothing else matters. So it's super, super, super important. And so, just to talk a little bit about how LinkedIn's product helps us do this, because our job, our media objective is really then to reach as many category buyers as possible. If you're in B2C, and you're selling toothpaste, you're targeting people with teeth, you can reach as many people as possible. But if you're in cloud computing, you want to reach the entire category. So you can do that. And there's also in LinkedIn, you can do unique reach. In Campaign Manager, here's how you would do it for the finance category. So you would select your target in the category here, and you would optimize for unique reach. So you choose, your awareness here. You obviously have these other decisions, but awareness is the one you want in this case. And thanks to LinkedIn's first party data and Campaign Manager functionality, you can execute a reach maximalist strategy more seamlessly than before. So again, choose reach as your bidding goal, and that's what you want to aim for. And then brand awareness here is what you want to select, optimizing for reach, and you're off to the races. So now that we've talked about being reach maximalist, we want to talk about performance. We want to talk about measurement and how do you connect the dots. So that brings us to the final trend of today, which is called performance branding. So we'll watch this video first, and then we'll talk about it.
Performance marketers have made lead generation look like a science. It's not, but by making it look like a science, performance marketers have captured the lion's share of most B2B marketing budgets. Brand marketers, meanwhile, don't sound like scientists. We sound like astrologists, which is why brand marketing is chronically underfunded in B2B. CFOs prefer math to magic. The solution is something we call performance branding. Take a look for yourself. Like performance branding is data-driven and financially free. But unlike performance marketing, the goal isn't to generate a lead. The goal is to generate a memory. And memory generation is how B2B brands actually grow. Simply put, the brand that's remembered is the brand that's bought. With performance branding, marketers use memory metrics to optimize their brand advertising. They use data to increase the odds that their brand gets remembered in a buying situation. It's like SEO, but for your brain. But wait, there's more. Performance branding is the opposite of the conventional approach to B2B marketing. The creative is emotional, not rational. The targeting is broad, not narrow. And the measurement is long-term, not short-term. The evidence suggests it's a much more profitable approach to B2B marketing. Learn how performance branding can help you discover and measure the metrics that really matter in B2B.
So that was my wonderful colleague, Peter Weinberg. You see, we all are trying to have our careers in acting as well. I hope you enjoyed that. So win the mind to win the market, and the brand that's remembered is the brand that's bought. This is why in brand advertising, we are out to create memories. The job of a marketer is not to generate clicks, it's to generate memories, and we're out to build a brand. So what gets measured gets managed, for better or worse. So we want to really think about how we do that. Just to drive this point home, in reality, it's not lead gen that generates most sales, it's the memory gen. Just look at this chart for the business insurance industry. On the y-axis, you have mental market share. On the x-axis, you have traditional market share. And you can see the up and to the right correlation between the two. So the correlation between mental market share or mental availability and traditional market share. And so when you understand that, being remembered matters so much more, and investing in that matters. So before we wrap up today, I want to leave you with some takeaways and a formula to invest in. So follow this formula of RMB to be remembered. You want to reach the whole category. You want to message around specific relevant category entry points. And then you also want to brand everything. You cannot underbrand. RMB is the formula that successful brand marketing does, and it's far more reliable, cost effective, and scalable than standard performance lead gen marketing will ever be. So just remember, no famous brands were built on lead gen, but many famous brands were built on brand marketing. So we want to balance, think about that 95/5 rule. And so, if you want to learn more about this, feel free to connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn. We also have a trends library. You can also follow us at b2binstitute.org. We have a LinkedIn page and then also on the website. These QR codes are active if you have your phone handy. And again, thank you so much for investing your time. And if you're interested, again, in that capital allocation approach to your messaging strategy, you can find our latest research on category entry points in a B2B institute, in a B2B world at b2binstitute.org, rather. Tripping over my words here because I'm so excited about this topic, folks. Thank you so much for investing your time with me today, and enjoy the rest of the event.